There we are.
All right, you want to tip it up? Cool.
So tell us what you have, Dave.
Yeah, this is a radio, a Zenith, that has been in my family ever since it was purchased. And according to you, about 1941 or 1942?
Yeah.
The pre-war radio. Mm-hmm. And my friend Bill here, who's done a couple of cameos on some Dragonfly Engineering videos. He's actually a amateur quasi-professional radio restorer. So I asked Bill to bring this old Zenith radio back to life. It's it hasn't been turned on in probably 40 years. And when it was turned on when I was about 12 or 15 years old, it was sketchy. There was sparks flying and everything. So the cord was actually cut off. And so yeah, Bill, would you like to introduce yourself and talk about what you would like to do to bring this old radio back to life?
Yeah, hi, I'm Bill Metz. I'm kind of a jack of all trades and mechanical engineering technician for about 40 years. Retired now, thank God. Anyway, what you've got is, this is a Zenith 10S669. This is a 1942 model Zenith. These were built starting about, just like cars, about mid-1941. And then, of course, December 7th, 1941, kind of put it into the whole, let's build radios.
A date which will live in infamy.
The commercial market, and Zenith went on to doing a lot of work for the military. But Zenith was a very well-known and respected radio brand back then. This is a cathedral-style radio, so the actual radio itself only takes up maybe, this much room in the cabinet. But back then, of course, this is before the days of television, and television was just in its infancy. So this was the family's prime source of news, entertainment, information. And so when you bought a radio, very often it was kind of it was a piece of furniture and maybe even a bit of a statement. So Zenith,
and it was the center of the family room.
Exactly. Yeah, the family would all gather around and sit around and listen to the radio rather than staring at the TV.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zenith again had a great reputation for building very stylish radios. Again, this is built, probably late 1941. Still some Art Deco sort of influences. The wood on here, up until this point, they typically used nice exotic wood veneers to make, just give it a nice aesthetic appeal. This particular radio, they had begun to actually do a faux painted wood finish on these. So this isn't actually a veneer, and you can maybe get a close-up. There's a few little nicks and scratches in the paint where you can see it's just a layer of paint and not a veneer. So I think what I'd like to do with this is, starting with the cabinet, let's get it cleaned up, get it looking as pretty as possible. There's a lot we can do to bring out the color and the shine in the wooden cabinet, to clean up all the plastic buttons and pieces, the nice convex lens on here.
This is like early plastic, like
Bakelite? Yeah, probably a Bakelite, yes,
oh, okay.
or an earlier plastic. But get it looking good aesthetically, because this again is just marvelous as a display piece, if nothing else.
Yeah, which is what it's done in April and I's house for the last 15 years.
But I'm fairly confident that we can get it going as a radio as well.
So we also have April, my wife, and cohort at Dragonfly Engineering, who's going to help with the videography of this restoration project. And Bill was talking about the era of this radio and some of the features of its reception. So
we'll get April to zoom in here too. We can actually look at the radio dial and talk about the reception on this. So unlike most modern radios, this is not just an AM radio. It does have the usual, AM 55 kilohertz to 160 kilohertz AM band, but the top half of the dial here is from 6 megahertz to 18 or 16 megahertz shortwave bands. And it's kind of interesting, on the AM bands we have a police radio portion of it where you used to be able to listen to the cops. That doesn't happen anymore. Everything's now encrypted and way off on a different frequency. But what's kind of cool about this is different countries use different wavelengths for their broadcasts. So here on the 38 meter band, we have Morocco, Switzerland, Japan. Over here on 25 meter band, we've got Germany, France, Italy, the United States.
Now, is that still true today?
No, it's not quite that organized, and sadly, the BBC abandoned their shortwave broadcasts a while back, and it does everything online now.
Oh, I see.
But
okay.
What I find is about 4 o'clock in the morning here on the West Coast, there's a really rich variety of programming coming out of Asia, usually between 6 megahertz and about 12 megahertz. There's just a ton of Japanese, Chinese, Philippine, and Australian broadcasts.
Oh, okay.
So,
and the 49M, is that?
That's 49 meters. Yeah.
So that's the wavelength.
Yes.
Of the frequency.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 6 megacycles or megahertz is the frequency, and the 49 meters is the wavelength of that.
Oh, okay.
And so as the frequency goes up, the wavelengths get shorter. So.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so this receives a good chunk of the shortwave band as well.
Nice, cool. And that's like the ham radio operators. Where would that be?
Ham is up above that. They're
okay.
up past the shortwave bands. Modern shortwave goes from about 2.5 megahertz up to 30, and then ham radio is up above that in shorter wavelengths.
Okay, all right. And then over here we've got what seems to be some audio equalizers.
Yeah, this actually that reminds me of something actually. So yeah, you have enhancements for treble, for mid-range for voice, alto or higher frequency vocal, bass, low bass, and normal. So these are various presets you can use
nice.
or kick in for enhancing the sound. And in doing a bit of research on this radio, there's a lot of people that restore these, and more than once I ran across comments of, I've got a gazillion radios, and when if I ever get rid of them, I'm keeping this one. I'm keeping my 10S 669 because they sound so good.
Oh, nice. So my grandfather, who actually bought this,
mm-hmm.
my grandfather Arthur Eberhardt, bought this new in 1942. So, and he was a air conditioning engineer.
Okay.
And so he had an engineer's view, and so yeah, it sounds like he made a good purchase back in 1941.
Yeah. You can vaguely see or not even vaguely, you can see the outline of the speaker. This has got an enormous speaker in it.
Yeah.
So it should have a really good, wide dynamic range. I'm hoping that we can find, if not an exact reproduction of the drill cloth here, something that will also fit nicely. We can replace this. I don't know if this is even cleanable, but there is a pretty strong aftermarket of parts for these old radios.
Oh, cool.
And so again, if we can't find an exact replica, we can find something that will certainly look good with this and be part of the cleanup on this.
Okay. And then over here are radio presets.
Presets for various stations as well.
And they start with W because this, I'm originally from Ohio, so I recognize WBNS is still a channel today, I believe. But on the east side of the Mississippi, radio
yes.
channels start with a W.
Mm-hmm.
And TV channels?
TV channels as well. When I was a kid growing up Offutt Air Force Base, just outside of Omaha, Nebraska, WOW was the local TV station.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, west of the Mississippi, or is it the Rockies? I can't remember. We have, KCBS, KNBC, all the K.
Yeah, the west
stations.
coast is K, but the east coast is W. I don't know where the demarcation line is. I think it's the Mississippi.
That makes sense.
So anyway. All right, so the plan here then is to restore the finish the best we can, replace the grill, or find a replacement for the grill. And then at the back, we can rotate this around.
Yeah, let's turn this around.
This is where the heart of the business is going to be.
Yeah.
Is that or why don't you say what you're planning to do here?
Yeah, what I'll end up doing is pulling the whole radio chassis out of here. These have, I'm told, just a whole bunch of point-to-point wiring in them that's rubber insulated wiring that petrifies over the decades, and so all of that wiring will need to be...
You want to zoom in on this? This is the old electric
Yeah,
cord.
there's your 120 volt in.
Probably hear how it's like
Oh yeah, you can see
ceramic
it's
instead of rubber.
it's just completely brittle. So yeah, all the plastic just goes to pot with age. So we'll end up rewiring a lot of this. The old wax and foil capacitors go bad, so we'll replace all of those, as well as the carbon resistors in these as well. They absorb moisture over time. And so with any luck, since this was working when it was last used, and it's been kept really well, I'm really, really happy to turn this around and see how clean this is inside.
Oh, good.
So yeah, this should be hopefully pretty straightforward. Few things I love about this. I don't know if you noticed, the whole radio chassis is sprung mounted.
Yeah.
Just to protect the tubes from shock.
Oh, okay. And for those who don't know, these are vacuum tubes, which are the predecessors to transistors. It's basically a fancy light bulb, and there is a electrical element at the top that glows red, and it basically showers electrons through this cathode ray tube, which is basically a vacuum tube with electrons flowing down. And there's basically other elements that will modify the flow of electrons to create basically an amplifier, similar to what a transistor does now. So when a vacuum tube is on, you see basically a glowing metal element at the top, and that's basically the flow of power through this electrical element. These are all obsolete now, but and now they're replaced with transistors. But yeah, this is pre-transistor vacuum tube technology.
Yeah. The nice thing is they made bazillions of vacuum tubes, and there's still really good support of people that have collections of old tubes that still sell them. Mm-hmm. Strangely enough, well, there are a number of companies that are producing them new now because of the popularity of vacuum tubes in modern stereo gear. People like that nice warm sound that you get. It's not as clean and precise as digital processing, but it's got a warmth and a fullness to it. So, and oddly enough, the Russians are still using vacuum tubes for modern radios that they're producing.
Oh, really?
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. Actually, for the computer that April and I built, the audio amplifier that's sitting on top of that is new vacuum tube radio. And there's 4 of them here, and it's vacuum tube technology, and you can unplug these and plug new ones in, but it works out pretty good. Or amplifier for the computer. So yeah, there's still kind of a niche.
yeah. A couple of other notes on this. Again, these were hand built, on an assembly line, but there was just a tremendous amount of care and quality built into them. I mean, you can see the hammer tone gold finish on the chassis.
Yeah.
Later mass-produced radios, they just, they would stamp the chassis out of steel, bend it up, and you open up the radio and the chassis is all rusted. But these are nice hammer tone gold. Yeah. The other thing I love about this is the Zenith rotor wave magnet antenna in here. There's an antenna inside this faux, it's a cardboard box that's made to look like a riveted metal box, but this is the wave magnet that just sucks in the
trademark.
Yeah, the trademark, yes. So this is sucking in the signal so that you get really great reception.
They actually reference their patent.
Yes.
And there's a list of patents on the side.
I was going to say, there's a patent plate in here. It shows the positions of the vacuum tubes and a vast array of patents associated with the radio itself.
There must have been a lot of cutthroat marketing and engineering back then.
And then here again is this lovely, enormous Zenith speaker, still into branded Zenith piece. So again, just an enormous speaker. And the nice thing is the cone in it appears to be in really good condition. This cardboard that's 70, 80 years old, but it looks like because it's been kept indoors and out of the hands of marauding children and such.
Like me.
it's still in good shape. The neat thing about these is there are people that do recone these old speakers. Now you have to have a pressed cone of paper with a corrugated edge on it that's the right outside diameter, the right inside diameter, the right cone depth to to replace these with, but there are people that do that still. So I'm hoping that it doesn't look like that's going to be a necessity with this, but it's really cool that that's still an option.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
yeah, I'm ready to jump into this.
All right.
Okay.
So we're thinking that we're going to have maybe a mini series where April is documenting and Bill is documenting the process of bringing this old radio back to life, and then we'll probably just keep it here at the shop and play it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the plan. Any final thoughts?
Let's jump into it. I'm really excited to see how this goes.
All right, cool.
All right.
All right. Well, stay tuned for more episodes of the teardown and the build up or the repair and restoration of this vintage 1941/42, right at the beginning of World War II.
Yeah, the last of the pre-war Zeniths.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for watching. All right. Cut.
Okay, guys, that was fun.
Are you a god?
Okay, sure.